So Sonic Superstars has been out for around a week now, and whether you like the game or not, you gotta admit that the story is kind of all over the place. It's obvious that they didn't really have a consistent plot in mind for this game, because there are just so many inconsistencies, but the absolute biggest thing that shocked me in this game was the secret Supersonic final boss, which is against a literal dragon, and yeah. It happened. And the weird thing about this boss is that it had absolutely no foreshadowing whatsoever. You select the last story from the menu and you're immediately shocked by how this is even in the game. Now, the fight itself isn't anything too special, I mean this is just your normal Supersonic boss fight, but how does this thing fit into the story of Sonic Superstars? Well, that's what I'm going to attempt to answer in today's video, so let's just get right into it. For one, let's just look at the evidence we have of this dragon's existence in the first place. And to my surprise, a lot of the evidence, if not all of the evidence, is in the prologue animation. Yeah, you heard that right. If you were like me and didn't watch the prologue animation, then yeah, you were probably caught so off guard by this thing. But there's still not a lot in the animation itself. Near the end of the prologue, Eggman, Trip, and Fang find themselves in a cave-like area that I'm assuming is in Golden Capital for a reason I'll mention later. They encounter the snake boss fight found in Sand Sanctuary, and while Trip and Fang are taking it down, Eggman discovers this mural on the wall. And interestingly enough, this same mural is found in the game at the end of Golden Capital Act Knuckles. So this mural is basically the answer to what this boss fight is. The first thing I want to point out is that there is representation for every Chaos Emerald power on this thing. You can see a blue emerald with multiple figures around it, which obviously represents the Avatar ability. You can also see a purple figure with an eye, which represents the purple emerald and the Vision ability. And there's also engravings for the Cyan Emerald, the White Emerald, and every other emerald. And of course, in the center of the mural, we can see a dragon head inside of the stone that seals the dragon, which implies that the Chaos Emeralds are connected to this thing in some way. Then Eggman doodles the dragon to show Trip and Fang, and yeah, that's all we got. So since the dragon and the Chaos Emeralds seem to be closely related, then it's possible that Sonic and gang collecting the Chaos Emeralds caused the dragon to summon. But there's a huge factor that we haven't discussed yet, and that is Trip. At the end of the game, Trip seals the dragon using a stone that only she can use. But why is that? Well, let's look at the mural again. You can see how the figures on the mural share very similar designs to Trip with her mask on. Does this mean that Trip is a part of an ancient civilization that used the Chaos Emeralds and their powers? That would actually make a lot of sense, considering that Eggman had a reason to work with Trip in the first place. And here's another thing, Trip's super form is a literal dragon, so this means that dragons are just a common thing that's related to Trip's species. And considering that Trip is the only one who knew how to use the stone to seal it away, then the whole thing kinda comes full circle. It's kinda weird though, because there is not a single point in this game that Trip is shown to have direct connection with this stone. In fact, the only time this stone is shown in the game at all is on the mural and in the ending cutscene. So this could mean that with the help of the Chaos Emeralds, Trip's species sealed the dragon with the stone way before the game takes place. But how did the dragon escape? And yeah, that's the only question I can't answer. Like I said before, it could have been due to Sonic collecting the Chaos Emeralds, but that wouldn't make much sense because the emeralds really had nothing to do with how it was kept sealed in the first place. Is it possible that Eggman used the stone to release the dragon off screen with the help of Trip? I mean, maybe, but that's a pretty big plot point to leave out of the game. And does the end have anything to do with this? I know it was only a small Easter egg, but it seems significant enough to the point where they intentionally put it at the end of the game. But again, there's unfortunately no true answer. No matter how many explanations I can come up with how this thing was released in the first place, none of them truly make sense. It just shows that when it comes to the story, Superstars was really lacking in consistent storytelling. I don't know how this happened. It's a classic Sonic game. The story should have been a slam dunk. Hell, the story shouldn't have even been this complicated in the first place. Why did they try to connect Superstars with other Sonic games? Because it only created even more plot holes by bringing the end into the equation, since it was sealed in cyberspace for thousands of years before the events of Frontiers. Do you really want me to believe that Superstars takes place thousands of years before Frontiers? Yeah, no, absolutely not. So just to recap what I went over, I think the story goes something like this. Years before the events of Superstars, Trip's civilization used the Chaos Emerald powers, along with the stone, to seal the dragon in another dimension. Then later on, Eggman discovers the mural on the wall, and with the help of Trip, he unleashes the dragon to try to take the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic and crew. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And again, this is not 100% confirmed, because there's only so much we can go off of. I just hope that we get a full explanation of Superstars' story in the future. But anyway, that's going to end this video, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.